Hello and happy Easter. Our journey to Easter goes beyond. Now we are into Monday, April 21st, and the octave of Easter. Our gospel today comes from Matthew chapter 28, and of course this is, after the resurrection of Jesus. The church leaders are frustrated, because the body, the corpse of Jesus is missing. And so they go to the soldiers, the temple soldiers, and they're going to tell them to lie. So listen to these words in Matthew 28. It says, "The chief priests assembled with the elders, and they took counsel. Then they gave a large sum of money, to the soldiers, telling them, 'You are to say, his disciples came by night and stole him while we were asleep. And if this gets to the ears of the governor, we will satisfy him, and we will keep you out of trouble.'" Their kind of obstinate pride would not let them see the reality of this moment. It got in the way of what truly took place. I mean, it's pretty obvious, in our reading of these stories, that something miraculous took place, something extraordinary, took place. And they still couldn't see it. Why? Because, again, they were, too concerned about their own lives. They were too concerned about, the easy lives that they were living. Because this might, cause them to lose, their place in society. They were not humble. They could not humble themselves to see that they were wrong, that they were wrong. Sometimes I think we need to pray to admit our wrongs. And I know that's one of the hardest things to do. In preparing young couples, for marriage, one of the things that I share with them is we talk about, the most important word in marriage, and that is forgiveness. At any time, during a relationship, there's always going to be difficulties. There's always going to be times when we disappoint each other. It happens. But you have to embrace that word forgiveness. You have to humble yourself. I don't think the chief priest and the elders, could understand that, because again, it was that obstinate pride, that kept them from seeing that they were wrong. And of course, they couldn't say they were sorry. But at the same time, we need to be able to say, "I forgive you." And one of these things I do with young couples is to tell them that, life has choices, and you can respond in many different ways, to a situation, that hurts you, that, brings disappointment to your life. And you can respond in this way. Number one, you could retaliate. You could choose to be an emotional boomerang and just throw it back at the people that wronged you. The second thing is you could resent. You can choose to hold that hurt or that disappointment inside of you, and then what happens? It explodes. And that just destroys that relationship. Or the final thing is you can release. You can release. You can choose the path of forgiveness. Rather than retaliate or resent, forgiveness absorbs and releases so that the relationship can move forward. I wonder if these church leaders could have removed, that barrier, that obstinate pride and admitted they're wrong. You wonder where our church would be today. But the beautiful thing is that even with all of that, the faith of the people overcame that obstinate pride. And the faith of the people won out. Because on this day, the Monday, the day after Easter, we celebrate the risen Christ. It isn't a question. There's no question about it. As the Acts of the Apostles tell us, God raised Jesus from the dead. And it is us, his followers, that need to witness to this. That's what we live today. Although there's that obstinate pride that keeps people from seeing that Christ is real and Christ is alive, we have to some way continue to witness that. Continue your journey through Easter.